Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast. This is part 2 of my 2022 NFL prediction special. This part 2, I'm going to go over some betting stuff and maybe some miscellaneous predictions at the end if we have time. So now I'm going to talk about bets that I made in the past. I'm going to start at DraftKings. Favorite win totals. I took the Jets under 5.5 at plus 130. That is still available. Ravens under 9.5 at plus 130. That's up a bit from a value standpoint. So I got on the wrong end of that. Favorite in the AFC South, I went the Titans under 9 at minus 115. That's still available. In the AFC West, I went Chargers over 10 at minus 140. That is also still available. I went New York Giants under 7 at minus 110, and that is also still available. I went with the Lions under 6.5 at plus 105, and I believe that was still available as well. New Orleans over 8.5 at minus 105. That jumped up, so I got that at a good number. I think that went up to minus 120. And Seattle under 5.5 is plus 105 is what I got it at, and it's even money now. So the last two win totals that I listed off from DraftKings, I'm on the better end of. In terms of awards, I bet on Justin Herbert for MVP at 9-1. He's still 9-1 on DraftKings. Nick Bosa, Defensive Player of the Year, I got him at 15-1. He's still that. Chris Olave, Offensive Rookie of the Year, 10-1. Got that, and that's still there and available. In DraftKings Coach of the Year, I took Dennis Allen at 3-1, and that is also still available. So FanDuel odds. I like using FanDuel more than DraftKings. All right, some value division bets. I bet on the Chargers at plus 240 to win the AFC West. They're down to now plus 220. There's a value pick to win the AFC East. You could talk yourselves into the Dolphins at plus 450 if Tua makes a big leap. The offensive line is better than expected. Tyreek Hill, the whole deal. The North, the Bengals plus 165 is easily the most value on the board. I mean, you could make a case Pittsburgh at plus 950 if Pickett comes in and is amazing. AFC South, the value is on the Jags at plus 750 with Trevor Lawrence in year 2. And then the Raiders even have some value at plus 650 to win the AFC West, but I'm going with the Chargers. I got them at plus 240. They're down to plus 220. The NFC East. The Eagles are now favored to win the NFC East at plus 130. I know several people that got them at like plus 240. And it's amazing that they're now favored to win this division. And they deserve to be favored to win this division as well. But I don't see value elsewhere unless if the Cowboys went to like plus 250. The NFC North, there's value on the Vikes at plus 240, but I'd rather that be at a higher number. The NFC South, Saints 3-1 is super valuable. You could even make a case for the Panthers at 10-1 if Baker bounces back. And the NFC West, I really don't see much value. I think San Fran at plus 165 is somewhat overvalued, but you could even make a case the Rams at plus 125 is undervalued. You could make a case the Rams should be minus 120 to win that division. Season award bets. My long shot MVP bet that I made was Deebo Samuel at 150-1. And he is still at that number. The value bet I made on FanDuel for the comeback player of the year, Raheem Mostert at 75-1. And that number is still available. What's David Bakhtiari's number for comeback player of the year? He is a freaking great offensive lineman. Ronnie Stanley's 200-1. Then where's David Bakhtiari at? That's insane that he isn't even on this list for comeback player of the year. And Ronnie Stanley is. Absolutely bogus, ridiculous. The coach of the year, my value bet from FanDuel's Andy Reid at 40-1. And that is still available. He was at a lesser number on DraftKings. The co-favorites here are Brian Daboll and Brandon Staley. Why is Brian Daboll a co-favorite for Coach of the Year? The Giants are awful. I do think Daboll might end up being a good head coach, but I don't know if it'll translate this season. Long shot for Offensive Rookie of the Year went with Wan'Dale Robinson of the Giants at 50-1. And that number is still available. And then my value pick for Defensive Rookie of the Year, Daxton Hill at 40-1. And that number is still available as well. Make him miss the playoffs odds. In terms of value, I like the Baltimore Ravens, no, at plus 134 as a value play. I just don't think they're a guaranteed playoff team like everybody else does. Here's my favorite one so far. The Dallas Cowboys, no, plus 180. I love that. That is excellent value. You're banking on the Eagles to win the NFC East and the wild cards to be the teams I predicted in New Orleans, San Francisco, and Minnesota. Another one I find excellent value in is the Las Vegas Raiders to make the playoffs. Yes, at plus 170. I love that bet. I have Vegas as the final wild card in the AFC, and I think that is a better bet than the Ravens to miss the postseason, honestly. Another one I really like from a value standpoint is the Saints to make the playoffs, yes, at plus 118. I think that is pretty nice money. I don't understand why the Giants to make the playoffs, yes, is plus 225 and the Jets is plus 710. Like, why is so many people high on the Giants, it feels like, from a future betting standpoint, rather than the Jets? I think those two teams are kind of even, if you ask me. The Eagles to miss the postseason, no, at plus 158 was valuable before the Cowboys injuries happened. Pittsburgh to make the playoffs, yes, is plus 330. How is that have more value? Like, I don't get why the Giants have a shorter odds number for that than the Steelers. The Steelers have a by far better roster than the Giants. So Pittsburgh, I don't have them in the postseason. But my favorite yes on the board that's over 2-1 and over 3-1 is the Steelers at plus 330. Not saying they're going to make it, but that is just good value. Tennessee to make the playoffs, no, at minus 110 is an absolute lock. I don't know why that's even. Everybody loves the idea of Derrick Henry coming back. But guess what? His team sucks. And my favorite no play that's 2-1 or higher in terms of missing the postseason at plus money. I think the Bills are a lock. I love the Cowboys to miss the playoffs at plus 180. That is just absolute money right there. I think Green Bay is a no-brainer. If Trey Lance is good, you can make a case for the Rams, no, at plus 210. The Super Bowl hangover. They don't bring back Odell. Van Jefferson out longer than expected. So that's an interesting one, but I don't know if that would be my pick in terms of a value play that's 2-1 or greater to miss the postseason. The way the Ravens are being hyped, I'm surprised that they're not over plus 150 even to miss the postseason. Like, the Ravens to miss the postseason is plus 134. And meanwhile, Dallas to miss the postseason is plus 180. Way more value on Dallas, and I have both teams not in the postseason. Plus 450 for the Bucs, no, but then that would mean Brady retires or gets hurt again. Saints emerge, Panthers emerge, and then the other like wild card teams in the NFC emerge. So to not make the playoffs, right here you have Dallas at plus 205 and Casey's plus 180. Like, why is Dallas over 2-1 here to not make the playoffs at plus 205? So that is very bizarre. But I think some of these are like skewed odds from like a parlay standpoint. So the valuable one in terms of like the ones that you could parlay and you want to do a single bet, it's the Cowboys at plus 205. That's the value pick to not make the postseason. All right. Season leaders, most passing yards. The value play here would be, I mean, is Jameis at 34-1 crazy if the two receivers are amazing and Trotman makes a jump? That's not crazy. And the most passing touchdowns, legally in passing touchdowns, Jameis for this is 30-1. So if there's a value pick for player to lead the league in touchdown passes, somebody that's 20-1 or greater, that's a tough one. I don't know if Lamar will be Lamar. Maybe Trevor at 50-1 if he makes a monster leap. So single season rushing totals, I really don't like betting on like props in terms of numbers because injuries always tend to happen. Like receptions and receiving yards. How about first win, first loss? This is always a fun one to do. So for first win, you have Bears, Falcons, Jets, Lions, Seahawks, Texans. That's the worst of the worst group. Like, the Giants aren't in that group, which is freaking weird. And they're not very good. So if I had to bet on the Bears' first win, the value play might be at the Giants at plus 850 if they don't win at home against Houston in Week 3. Although, home Lions Week 10 at 50-1 is very enticing. And so is Week 9 home Dolphins. That's the one. Week 9 home Dolphins is my favorite value play. Bears first win, 50-1. Falcons first win. This is a lot of fun, especially with these bad teams. The valuable one here, I mean, plus 230 at Seattle's a good one. So maybe Week 6 against San Francisco and Trey Lance. We don't know what Trey Lance is up to. But maybe the value play is against the Browns at 6-1. When are you going to get the Falcons to win at 6-1 against the Seanless Browns? That's it. That's value. Jets first win. Home Baltimore this week is plus 230. At the Browns is plus 155. And their money line in Week 2 is probably going to be higher than plus 155 in Week 2 at Cleveland. Or it could be the same. So that doesn't have any value. Maybe at home against the Dolphins in Week 5 or home New England Week 8. So I think the value one is Miami home Week 5 because they're going to be shorter than 10-1 if they're 0-4. Detroit first win. They have two excellent shots against the NFC East, and the Eagles and the Commanders at home in weeks 1 and 2. So, the value play, if you think they might start 0 and 2, maybe at home against the Vikings in week 3 at plus 850. Seattle's first win. An interesting pick for this might be home Arizona week 6 at 21-1. I like that a lot. Although home Falcons plus 170 is with Marcus Mariota at quarterback, but then again, they're not much worse at quarterback. Houston Texans first win. Home Indy here is plus 290, but I don't know what their money line is. At Chicago plus 240, they're going to be a shorter dog in that game potentially, so I guess that's where the value lies. And then first loss. The group here is Rams, Bucks, Bills, Broncos, Chiefs, Chargers, Packers, Cowboys. Let's go with the Bills. At Rams plus 105, that's no value because the Rams are a larger underdog. Bills to go undefeated is 65-1, which is insane. But I'd stay away from the Bills because I think they might lose to the Rams. Rams first loss. This is where value lies if you think the Rams win tomorrow night, which I think they might. Their first loss, the value might be at Tampa Bay week 9, 39-1. They could be undefeated going to that Bucs game. So that could be really interesting. And let's go with the Chiefs. At Arizona, plus 165, which is in week 1. Versus the Chargers at home week 2, plus 250. So it's like you're betting on the Chargers plus 250 against the Chiefs. But where value lies, plus 550, you're betting on the Bucs to win at home against a potential undefeated Chiefs team. Maybe that's it. So that would be it in theory. And then let's do Green Bay. In case they win at mini week 1. What would be the pick for first loss? At Bucs plus 195. You're not going to get Brady at that number. Say if the Chargers go undefeated in their first 2. At the Texans, 17-1 might not be that terrible of a bet. Maybe not. At San Francisco week 10, if they're undefeated through 9 is interesting as well. So, first win-loss is really, really interesting in terms of betting futures. So sacks. The favorite CJ Watt at plus 650. If I had to make a value pick for leading the league in sacks, I would go with Green Bay Packers edge rusher Rashawn Gary at 3-1. I think that's an interesting play. Most interceptions. Xavier Howard's a 6-1 favorite. If I had a value play there, maybe I'll go with Derwin James at 30-1. I think that is excellent value on Derwin James for interception. In terms of most interceptions, I should say. All right, and that's it for the gambling portion of the NFL predictions show. Actually, no, I want to do one more, actually, for the Super Bowl. In terms of Super Bowl futures. If I had to pick one greater than 20-1, it's Cincy at 22-1, but the Super Bowl loser doesn't usually come back and win the next year. So it kind of eliminates them from that discussion. But why not there's 2. The Raiders and the Saints are each 40-1. I have them both as playoff teams. I think the Saints might have a better shot because they have a better defense than the Raiders. So 40-1 from New Orleans, I think, is excellent value. And the Super Bowl matchup, I have Buccaneers-Chargers. That is at 35-1. And then the straight bet, which is a lot of fun, which would be the Chargers to beat the Buccaneers. That is 60-1. So that is really, really neat. And then winning Super Bowl division, the AFC West is plus 330. You're banking on all 4 teams there that could potentially make the playoffs. The next best is NFC East at plus 440. That's ridiculous. All right. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. That's the NFC West. I thought that said the NFC East. That's my mistake. Oh, my God. That's a mistake by me. If there's value on one division, it's the NFC South because it has the Packers and Aaron Rodgers, and you're banking on maybe Kirk Cousins and the Vikings potentially making a run. So I think the value division for the Super Bowl winning division is the NFC North at 7-1, although I would bet the AFC West at plus 330 despite it being the favorite. So there's the end of the future segment. And then now miscellaneous predictions, which I forgot. I'll throw 5 of them at you. First one, I think the AFC West will have 4 playoff teams. That's my biggest prediction of the season. I have the Chargers winning the division, and I have the Chiefs, the Broncos, and the Raiders as my wild card. So the AFC West will not only produce 4 winning teams, they'll produce 4 playoff teams. My number 2 boldest prediction of the season is that you'll see a ton of action at the trade deadline, but one name that won't be traded will be Jimmy Garoppolo. I mentioned a lot of players that could be traded throughout the podcast, such as Brandon Cooks, Leonard Williams, maybe Shelby Harris of Seattle, Roquan Smith, definitely, maybe some of the Lions guys. So I think you'll see a lot of guys potentially being traded at the deadline on some of these bad teams. Number 3 bold prediction of the season. We will hear about potential suspensions for Alvin Kamara, among others, before October 1st. So that is not a fun prediction that I wanted to make, but it's a prediction worth noting. Number 4, there will be 0 postponed games due to COVID. 0. There were a couple last year, if I'm not mistaken, but I know the year before there were several. I don't think we'll see that again, but I will say that we'll be seeing players test positive for COVID and miss a week or 2, like Aaron Rodgers last year, per se. And my last prediction of the miscellaneous predictions segment in the final segment of this 2-part podcast is that multiple coaches will be fired during the season. I have Cliff Kingsbury fired. I think Matt Rhule could get fired. I think Mike McCarthy could get fired. I think there are some other candidates that could get fired as well. Maybe it's somebody we're not thinking of. Another one that could absolutely get fired during the season is Kevin Stefanski. And in terms of people we're not thinking of, maybe Robert Saleh, maybe Arthur Smith if the Falcons are just awful. Maybe Pete Carroll. So it should be interesting to see, which coaches end up getting yanked and which ones end up surviving. So there you have it for the 2022 NFL Predictions Show. It was a long show, 2 parts. And we'll see how I do with these predictions. Hope you guys have a great evening, everyone.